Hey, all you comic book fans! Welcome back to Comic Book Corner, and this is your host, Mike Spider Slayer. That's right, guys. Today, we are in for the world premiere of Spider Slayer's Comic Book Countdown. That's right, guys. I did a pilot episode last week. Had a lot of positive feedback about it. Had a lot of likes about it. So we're going to stick with this format and see how it works out. That's right, guys. Each and every week on Mondays, I am going to take my comic books that I read for the week, and I'm going to do a comic book countdown. That's right. I'm going to count down, obviously, in my opinion, from the comics that I physically read in my hands, and count down all the way from my least favorite book all the way to my favorite comic book. We're going to do some a little bit of spoilers, a little walkthrough of the book, and give you my opinions of the book, okay? So with that being said, let's get started. And all your thoughts and all your comments below are greatly appreciated. If there's something I can do to improve the show, then we'll go ahead and we'll do that each and every week, okay? And then at the end of the video, I would love to see if you guys take the time and maybe rate the comics for yourself, you know, on the ones that I read, if you read them. So, with that being said, this week there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 comics on the countdown. So we have 8 that we're talking about. I did buy 9 comics this week, but one of them was a reprint of 700 Spider-Man, so I can't review that one. That's already done. And then there was a couple comics that my comic book store was shorted on, which was Avengers, issue 5, and then Robin Hood from Zenscope Entertainment. So, with that being said, we're going to start with number 8. Number 8 on today's list is Iron Man, issue number 8. That's right. The story is called A vs. X Aftermath, the God Killer. So right away, you see A vs. X on it. You're like, Aftermath, dude, that's gotta be sweet. And you're like, gotta buy it. Iron Man, I'm on board now. His first 5 issues suck. I don't think this one's gonna suck either. So the next thing you see is you're like, gotta get it. Maybe now it's gonna really start getting good. He's got a spacesuit in. It's got the Phoenix on the bottom. Cool looking cover. You're like, dude, awesome. Not the case. This book sucked butt. I'm telling you right now. Did an in-depth review on Dark Avenger Inc. if you want to see a whole in-depth review of this book. But this book stinks, and it's continuing to stink. I will see it out through the entire arc to see if it truly does get better or if it's just gonna suck. This book is written by Gurnan Gillen and Greg Land. The pencils in this book are not bad when it has to do with Iron Man. When it has to do with any kind of face drawings or any of that other stuff, and I've said it before, they all look the same. They all have the same smile. They're all freaky looking. They all got buck teeth. Look at Iron Man, or Tony Stark. Just ridiculous, okay? And Tony Stark is so shallow in this book that he really wants to hook up with some alien chick. And the book is basically based off of that. Instead of going into the main story, we're gonna go based off a whole issue of him trying to hook up with some alien looking chick. I don't care what type of superhero you are, and you're an Earth guy. Why are you gonna hook up with some alien? It's just so ridiculous. And oh my god, I'm so frustrated by this book. And in the end, you find out that this race and this girl here, this alien girl, calls Tony the Space Knight, and you find out that their god is the Phoenix Force. And at the end of the issue, you find out that this girl doesn't want to hook up with Tony because he's got a beard on his face. And the next thing is that Tony Stark gets arrested because this race's god was the Phoenix Force and that he destroyed it. And the next thing you see is he's arrested and he's in this jail. And you're like, okay, big deal. Like, how any way of a cheesy way to end up in jail and how to get captured is beyond me. It was absolutely ridiculous. I did not enjoy it one bit. And I'm just so disappointed with this book. I hope I pray that it improves because I am a big Iron Man fan and I'm just so disappointed. So number 8 on the list, 1 star. If you can avoid buying this at all costs right now, avoid it. It stinks. All right, next, number 7, or 7, or 7, I don't know. 7. Venom, issue number 31. We're on 31 issues of Venom right now. This book usually comes out twice a week. Most of the books, the covers on this issues always have Venom doing some kind of pose. It's like this, where he's got a gun, or he's flying on his web like that, you know, and he's just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's just the book has been its ups and it has its downs. We've dealt with the Savage 6, which seems to be the best story arc in this series so far. It had to do with like the crime master, and you found out that it was Betty's brother, or was it? Yeah, her brother. And in the last issue, you got really on a huge cliffhanger. You're sitting there going, "Holy crap, it's Toxin!" And you're like, "Oh, Toxin! I can't wait," because now it's Eddie Brock facing off his original symbiote, which is pretty cool to see. Well, in this issue, it's like a complete letdown. You're like, "Oh, where's Toxin?" Ah, no, oh. And I was just left reading and waiting and wanting, and it just basically had to do with Flash in this book, moving to Philadelphia and unpacking his stuff and going out on patrol. And our writer in this book is Cullen Bunn, who's taken over this book, and our artist in this one is Declan Shavely. And I didn't particularly enjoy the art in this style. It kind of is consistent, lacks a little detail, especially when you have a symbiote. You don't want all this shadiness and all this lack of colors. And for me, this art does not feel, go with this book. Especially when, like I said, the symbiote becomes Venom. It just gets all weird looking. I just didn't enjoy it that much, and it was just frustrating. It was just frustrating when, hold on one second, I got a text here. Sorry about that. It's just frustrating when you sit there and you see that, and it's like, oh, come on, let's draw the symbiote solid, And this was the best picture that you could get from it right here, was that symbiote. And, and then you get flashbacks of Flash talking to his mom, how he's saying he's not living far away, that he's in Philadelphia, even though, New York's not that far away, he'll visit her all the time. And you get to see Flash meet his neighbors in his new apartment. You see these little gang wars, and he poses as this fake character. It's called Hail Mary, and he doesn't want to be on the scene. And it was just like la-di-da-di-da. He talks about how he doesn't want to use the drugs to paralyze his symbiote unless he has to. And he falls asleep, and he falls asleep for hours, and you see at the end of the issue that, his next door neighbor, I guess, was killed, and he doesn't know what was going on, and it was, Flash feels that it was his symbiote that did it. And at the end of the issue, you finally see something that's looking promising. You have Eddie Brock knocking on the door, and he's looking for Flash, and you sit there and you're like, oh, he's looking for Flash. And he's not there because he obviously moved, and he wants to, meet up with him. And you obviously know that he's Toxin because you can see the little shadow there. So this issue just kept you waiting for another issue of Venom, waiting to see Toxin and Eddie Brock get back together. You know what I would like to see? I like to see Eddie Brock get the Venom symbiote back somehow. Steal it from Flash, make Flash you know, useless for a while, come somehow steal it back or whatever. I don't know. I like Eddie Brock better as Venom, obviously, because he was the original Venom. But it'll be interesting to see where this series goes. This book for me was a close to 3 stars out of 5. It was one of those issues where you could have read the last issue, skip this issue, and wait for the next issue to see Eddie Brock and Venom or Toxin go at it, because it was just that type of issue, just real boring, nothing going on, just his life getting back to Philadelphia. And Venom's been really on the cusp for me lately about me possibly dropping it, because it's been with demons and all this other stuff, that supernatural nonsense. I'm just not really into all that much. So close to 3, almost a 3 out of 5. So Venom issue number 31. Next, we have the Fearless Defenders number 1, issue 1. Now, I like this book. This book was really good for me. It just happened to be that the last 2 books that I showed you are just in completely different league than this book and maybe the books below. Defenders number 1 happened to be on the Spotlight video that I did on Friday. This book is really nice artwork. The girls are drawn very sexy, and I said that in the other issue, and then I got some comments about what I truly meant about it, which was funny. But it is true. They're drawn beautifully. The inks are done nice. The colors are drawn nice, and the story is not like fantastic. If you guys want to see a really in-depth review about this issue, you can go see my Spotlight video on this book. But the book was good, and it has to do with Misty Knight and Valkyrie and Annabelle Diggs, or Riggs I think her name is, who's an archaeologist, and they recover some artifacts, and it basically rose the Asgardian dead from the ground, and they basically got to take them out. And at the end you find out that this Annabelle girl likes girls, and she winds up kissing Valkyrie because she's such a huge fan of her. And it's an interesting read. It was a fun story. It has action. It's interesting to see where this book goes. It was written by Colin Bunn, who wrote Venom, and the art, which made the book for me, if the art wasn't good in this book, I probably wouldn't buy it, was Will Slinley. And the issue that I have with this book is that Marvel has so many titles out right now. With Marvel Now, people trying so many things, the story is not strong enough, like in Avengers or like in X-Men or like All New X-Men, to sit there and go, I'm going to buy this instead of X-Men. It's going to get pushed down the line, and if people have to cut a title, unfortunately, it's going to be Fearless Defenders. I am going to continue to buy this series just to see where it goes, and hopefully it improves. Not that I'm saying it was bad, but hopefully that it continues to get better. And we'll see where it goes from here. So if you have the extra money, I say go out and buy this book. This book was like a 4-star. Oh, no, it wasn't a 4-star. It's like a 3.5, almost 4-star book for me. But if you have the extra money, go out and buy it, because you'll respect it for the artwork and the action. But the storyline is not really in depth. And it's nice to see these characters, though, have their own series, instead of being behind, you know, Heroes for Hire and related to Thor and things like that. So go out, read it if you can. If you can't afford it, I understand. It's going to be one of those books that people are just going to skip away because they don't have that extra income. That's the problem with Marvel now. We have books coming out twice and 3 times weekly or a month, and if it came out once a month, maybe people would give this more of a try. So, if you want to see a really in-depth review, check out my comic Spotlight on Defenders issue number 1 that came out on Friday. So guys, that is my thoughts on the Fearless Defenders issue 1. Alright, so next on the countdown, we are down to number 5. Top 5. Earth 2. That's right, guys. Issue number 9. Series has been fairly consistent at this point. It has nice artwork. I love how Hawkgirl is drawn in here. I love how all the characters are drawn. Big badass weapons. Look at the, you know, all the weapons in their room and their hideout and everything else. But in this issue, we get to see Khaled, who's I guess Dr. Fate. I'm not a huge DC fan, so I never really read too much about these characters, but she is telling him to join, I guess, their group of the Wonders to try to help save the world. She's convincing him to do the right thing, to do what's good. And Khaled's sitting there going, you know what? I don't know. Abu telling me what to do. I don't have control. It's just so odd for me to sit here and talk about this. To go and relive all this stuff with him in my head and all this crazy other stuff that he's talking about. And the book does a really good job of getting you to the point of where the series is right now by doing little broadcasts, and while Flash was sitting there, I guess, trying to go to his mom's house and visit his mom's house, and that's what you get to see in this issue. And his mom is being attacked by the World Army, and you got the soldier here, Natu, or Satu is her name, yeah, Sonya Satu, trying to take in the Flash, and he tries to escape, and he gets escaped, and all kinds of cool stuff happen in this issue. They get teleported to some different realm, and then at the end of this issue you get to see this crazy ass wonton chick sorcerer. Yeah, is it a girl? I don't even know. It might be. It's got long hair. It kind of looks like a girl. Could be a guy. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the character, if it's ever been that type of character. It could be a guy. I don't know. The only thing I say it's a girl because it's got long hair, but I think it's a guy. So my bad on that part. But yeah, I mean, Earth 2, it's a good story. It's solid. It's got great artwork. It's intrigued me to keep reading it. I like seeing these characters. I like seeing DC do their thing here with these characters, change it up a bit instead of being so traditional, and that's what's so good about Earth 2. So if you guys are interested in reading Earth 2, go ahead and pick it up. It's not a bad story. I enjoy it quite immensely, and it's $2.99. James Robinson writes it. The art is done since issue 1 by Nikolai Scott, and I think you guys, DC fans, might enjoy this book, so check out Earth 2. My favorite character in this book, though, by far so far, is Adam. I love how he's drawn and how he's kind of a bad guy and he just destroys a house like that. Super cool. Love it. Awesome. So Earth 2, guys. Alright, so next we have Green Arrow, issue 17. This was number 4 on my countdown. If there were some other books that weren't out, this could have been a close to number 2 or number 1. This book really heavily, I guess, is focusing towards that way of heading towards the Green Arrow or the Arrow TV series. This book, at first, I almost didn't get it. When I went to the comic book store, the comic book clerk there, by the name of Sam, is a great guy. He tells me, Mike, check out Green Arrow. This is more like Oliver McQueen, not that crap that you read from issue 16 and below. And it's just, you know, it's just really cool to check it out. And it's just really cool to check out. And I was like, all right. And you know, he's like, I'm surprised you don't have it yet, because he's like, the art is like Hawkeye. And I was telling him that one of my fears about this, about Hawkeye, is that it's going to copy Hawkeye. You know, especially when I saw the artwork in here. Now, my artwork is not the favorite for this series. For some reason, Hawkeye fits that book, the way it's told and everything else. The artwork on here, I can live with it as long as the story continues to be good. Jeff Lemire is the writer, so you got a good writer. And Andrea Sorrentino is the artist. Not a huge fan of it. It's okay at certain points. People's faces, I don't like when you don't see expressions. A lot of that going on in this book. A lot of facial expressions that you don't see. The book tends to do a heavy focus on when something major is going on. They do this little box and they focus on it with like white, and you can see that right here when it's being looked at. It does it quite a bit in here. One of my favorite pages, though, at times it does shine, was right here when a dramatic action scene happens, and Ollie's sitting there talking with Emerson, who's his father's best friend, and he's being pulled out, which is really cool. And he's just like, Emerson, and it just focus all on white right here, and he's being pulled out, and it's like green glass. So that's cool. Again, a lot of focus points on certain things, camera looking at your characters and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see at points where this art is, and I felt like, yes, they tried to copy Hawkeye in a way. It just happens to be that there's two archers with this crazy artwork. But it's a good read. It was a great story, and it just kind of gets rid of all the stuff that happened before. Another text, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. So story-wise, my apologies. Story-wise, it's really good because, like I said, it gets rid of all that crap that happens before, and it basically destroys Emerson, and it gets rid of the characters in here that were the sidekicks, which was oh God, what was those people's name? Jax and the other girl. I don't know her other name, but they were his sidekicks that he was, you know, that they were giving him information and weapons and all kinds of stuff. These two characters here, and in the building that they were in, boom, the whole place blows up, and it was just interesting to see. So all these characters that you had in the past issue, boom, just wiped clean. And in the end, Ollie's sitting there going, dude, who's doing this? And it's just like, hello, Oliver. And it's some other mysterious archer that you see. And he kind of took some of his technology, and the character's name is Komodo. And he kind of looks like that, but see, this is what I get frustrated with a character I've never seen before, and I don't see his face in great detail. That's what frustrates me about this art. And again, he's the threat, and you see him in a red box, and he has to deal with this Komodo character, and he's pretty much everything that Ollie is, but he seems to be a little bit stronger. And yeah, it was definitely an interesting issue. And then at the end of the issue, you get to see this mysterious character go, you were never supposed to leave the island, Oliver. And you're like, whoa, okay, I'm not supposed to leave the island. Great book, guys. Nice read. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. The reason why it's not a 5 for me is the artwork. For some reason, Hawkeye in the story goes well with that series, and this kind of doesn't. It's more action, more serious, and I see it's a darker side of the artwork, but I think it needs a little bit more detail when it comes to facial expressions and stuff like that. I understand the concept, but for me it doesn't work that well. But the story was really, really good, so I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. So next on the list, number 3. All new X-Men. Ooh, I wonder if some of you are not agreeing with this right now. I'm not sure. All new X-Men. The reason why this is not the number 1 book or the number 2 book on the list this week is because this book had lots of dialogue, lots of reading, lots of stuff going on. I'm sitting there going, oh man, this is so much reading. And I'm like, that's fine, but there's no action. And I'm an action person. I love action, artwork, and I love a great story. And when they're all 3 of them are not combined, and unless the story is super, super duper awesome good, it's not going to get a number 1 spot for me. But the book still continues to impress me whichever way possible, and it opened up really, really good. It opens up with Scott, you know, trying to stay undercover here, and he's going to a bank, and he's not sure what's going on because it's his past self, and he's drawn to this bank. People are watching him. He goes to a heavy X-Man fan or a mutant fan. You can see because she wears a an X symbol on her what's it called, on her jacket. And the cool thing is she's like, "Oh, dude, I'll do anything for you. Okay, Mr. Scott Summers. Oh my God, I'll be a mutant any day." You know, she's like freaking out, and she opens up the safety deposit box, and you get to look at some history of Scott Summers. He wants to find out more about himself, why he's becoming this way, what has changed him, and things like that. The cool thing is he finds some cool new glasses, so he can not wear his costume all the time now. And you know, they're like 80s looking style glasses. And I like the way the artwork is in here. It's in this dark room, and all you see is the red glasses, and it's all gray and stuff like that. But the cool thing is he comes across an invitation, and you see that right here. And you're like, oh man, he knows that he marries Jean Grey. And, you know, the issue goes on, and he's wanted by the, you know, the police come after, and the police go to capture him or whatnot, and then here comes Wolverine, and Wolverine's like, "You done wasting my day?" And it's funny because the police want to rescue him, and he's just like, "I'm the Avengers. Whatever you say, you can't. You're not the boss of me. I'm the boss of you." And this card says that you have to listen to me, and I'm the boss. And so at the end, Wolverine goes and takes Scott, and he's like, "Leave me alone." You know, he's sitting there being a baby about everything, and what happens though is that Wolverine's not really Wolverine, and it's all Mystique, and they have this really long conversation, and this goes on in this book. It's a real lengthy conversation that you guys have to read to truly appreciate in the book, and the artwork is very nice. It's been so consistent in this book. You get to see a new character in here drawn, and it's Mystique, and she's obviously drawn beautifully as well, and you can see Scott's intrigued by her, and but it's this long, lengthy conversation about what Scott Summers is, what he should do, what's the right thing to do, and you can see Mystique going into different personalities because she wants to keep herself undercover. She doesn't want to draw attention, and it goes on for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages in the book, 7, 8 pages altogether, and in the end, it's just a ploy to have the X-Men just chasing their tail, so in the grand scheme of things, she can put her plot into motion, which was interesting. It's cool though. You get to see a little confrontation between Kitty Pryde and Iceman, the past X-Man, past Iceman, and they go at it with each other. How they need to train and stuff like that. That's really cool to see, and it has its great moments in there. And at the end, Scott hands Jean the wedding invitation and kind of just walks away, and you're just like, wow, pretty awesome. And you got Scott just wondering on what he should do next. And so this will be very interesting to see. In this issue, you don't see any of the other X-Men, like future Scott Summers or Magic or anybody else, because you're getting ready for their release of the Uncanny X-Men. And I think that's why you didn't see anything. So now I think we're going to start seeing the two titles go their separate ways for a while, and I'm sure they'll cross paths here and there between the two titles. So there was no action in this book whatsoever, just lots of dialogue, and but the story is still very good. It's a very good story. Just be prepared to read in this book and understand what's going on in it. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. Bendis has done a great job. Marquez did the art in this book, and it's been very consistent and one of my favorite Marvel titles to date. All right, so next, number 2. Superior Spider-Man, issue 3. That's right. This book has been fun. I loved it. This book actually, though, is better. This issue is better than issue number 2. I love Mary Jane and Peter's relationship, but we were all wondering what was going to happen after that. So now that they quickly got that out of the way, we go into now the true stories of Superior Spider-Man. How he's going to deal with the Vulture. How he's going to deal with all his bad guys. How is he going to deal with J. Jonah Jameson? And how is he going to, hold Peter Parker's name? And in this issue is really neat because in the beginning you get to see the bat signal as a spider signal. And when I saw that at first, I'm like, what the hell, dude? This spider signal? Are you kidding me? I'm like, where is this book going? And the first thing that you see is J. Jonah waiting on the rooftop. And the coolest thing is that Superior just sits there and blows it up. And he goes, how dumb can you be? This is going to alert all my enemies right to this attention. And it makes sense. And it's like, as a Batman fan, you're like, really? You know, but they're taking a jab at Batman there. And I thought that was so awesome. But Carly and Peter, or Carly and Superior, have to work together to stop the Vulture, because he's back in town. His little minion guys are causing havoc in the city, and really those creatures are little kids that he uses as his minions. And it's kind of sad to see, because you see the past history of Dr. Octopus getting beat up when he was a little kid, and he doesn't take any of that. And he sees one of those kids getting beat up, and he just loses it, and he goes to town on the Vulture in this book, which is really interesting. Another cool thing is you get to see the tech that Superior keeps coming up with in this book. He comes up with these lenses to track the magnetic flight of the Vulture. He has these ultraviolet or polarized lenses to protect him from light. Really cool stuff. And at the end, like I said, in this issue, you get to see him, you know, he goes to town on the Vulture and virtually kills him. Carly Cooper doesn't really recognize Peter would ever do this. And again, Superior has to come up with some interesting techniques to jar Carly's memory about, okay, this is what Peter Parker would say, and this is what Peter Parker would do. But she has, you know, he has her guessing that something's not right about him right here. Peter's not overshadowed in this issue. You get to see a little bit of him go into Superior Oct's mind and try to navigate through it. He sees like history of Dr. Octopus and the Vulture working together. He sees, like I said, his childhood. So he's starting to navigate through that mind a little bit. And eventually I think you're going to see him maybe try to crawl out. And that's what this series is heading towards, I have a feeling. The artwork in this book is very consistent all the way through. Stegman is a great artist. I love him on Spider-Man. I love how he draws past things of Doc Ock. And it's just a great and fun Spider-Man book to read. And if you guys have not read this, I suggest that you go ahead and read it. Based off of the events of, you know, issue 700, it is a great story to see what this is all about, and what, you know, how Doc Ock is going through this universe now, and we get to learn about him. So guys, I'm giving this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Great book, definitely recommend it to everybody. It's a fun read. Superior Spider-Man, that's right, issue 3. So this week's number 1 on Spider Slayer's comic book countdown is, that's right, New Avengers issue number 1. This book is awesome. Man, oh man, I'm sitting here going, oh God, Jonathan Hickman, what you got me into now, man? Jonathan Hickman has written a great book, and your art is done by Epting, and it's great art too as well. In the last issue, a lot's gone on. You had a ton of stuff happening. Earth's colliding, universes being destroyed. You got a whole history lesson on everything that's happening, and it's just wild stuff. Cover, by the way, is one of my favorite covers. Reflections on Captain America's shield, which is always cool to see. And you're wondering, in this issue, you don't really see Captain America in that reflection, do you? I wonder why. You see in the last issue, it does a great job. In this issue, it does a great job on reliving the past events. It does another great job about the holders of the Infinity Gems and what they represent. And you talk about Namor, how he's got the Power Gem, and Black Bolt got the Celestial Messiah, Iron Man, and so on and so on. And Professor Xavier has got the Mind Gem. Okay, Beast all of a sudden gets involved. Since Professor Xavier's death, somehow he implanted in his mind this memory about when Xavier dies, he gets an envelope that says remember, and he gets in possession of the mind gem, and he goes into this vault and he gets it, and all of a sudden he's with the other Illuminati, and they combine their gems together. And in the end, what happens is Reed Richards gets him all ready to do battle, communication devices, all his scientific nonsense that he comes out with. And in the end, you get to see Reed Richards, well, in the issue, you get to see Reed Richards continuing to interview Raven, and how she likes French fries, and what her thoughts on everything is. And, you know, she sits there and she's in rest, and all of a sudden, boom, her eyes light up. She lights up, and all of a sudden, shit's about to hit the fan. And all of a sudden they go to Pakistan, and it's all snowy, and it's Antarctica. First nothing happens, and they get into this section, and all of a sudden you see a world is starting to come. That's it. Earths are starting to collide. The universe is about to destroy. Next, the Illuminati come together. They get their gems, and the gems are together. And you got the mind gem, the reality gem, the power gem, the space gem, the time gem, and the soul gem. And they make the Infinity Gauntlet, and powers collide. And next you see the Gauntlet all together. And you have the moon. You got Galactus, and you have the Titan, which is Thanos looking upon. And they make a decision on who should wear the Gauntlet. And the person that wears the Gauntlet is Captain America. And he's like, I feel the power. You know, he feels that power. And he shoots a blast through the earth. And he starts pushing it back. And he's like, I can't do it. And they're like, you have to try harder. They're like, he's working. He's doing it. Next thing you know, he goes into overdrive, and whoosh, he pushes it away. But at the same time, the mind gem, the reality gem, the power gem, the space gem, the time gem, the soul gem, it's shattered. And the time gem is missing. And the next thing you know is all else fails. Namor gets pissed off. He punches freaking Captain America. Beast is left in awe. Black Panther's like, oh, you know what? I'll be with you no matter what. Whatever happens, happens, dude. And I felt like this was kind of all of a setup. And after, you know, Captain America sitting there trying to go, you know what, we got to do the right thing. We got to do this, and we got to stand, and we'll prevail. The University of Illuminati's not having it. And you know what? They're like, do it, Stephen Strange. Whoosh, your mind is erased. You'll remember none of this. And his mind has been erased, and he's been kicked off of the Illuminati. And all it ends is him lying on the floor when nothing ever happened. So what happens to Captain America? Oh my God, dude. You're like, holy shit. At the end of it, you're like, watch, like, oh my God, this is awesome. What's going to happen? And how are they going to stop the universe from being destroyed if they don't have the gems now? You can't just move like planet Earth and sit there and push it away with your mind. Or what is Steven Rogers thinking here? Like, oh yeah, we'll just find a way. We'll come up with a contraption. Whatever. I don't know what's going to happen. But I don't know what Hickman's planning for this book, but I love it, and it is so good, and that's why this deserves the #1 spot on the countdown. Best cover of the week, best everything. And that's it, guys. That's your countdown for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, going through the books, you got Iron Man at number 8. You have Venom at number 7. You have Fearless Defenders, number 6. Earth number 2 at number 5. Green Arrow, number 4. All New X-Men in the 3rd spot. Superior Spider-Man at the 2 spot. And at the number 1 spot, All New Avengers, comic of the week. Well, not yet my comic of the week. That's what it is. And the Spotlight comic was Fearless Defenders. So guys, tell me what you thought of this episode of Mike Spider Slayer's Comic Book Countdown Episode 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Give me your order down below and what you rank these comics in. And guys, I appreciate you watching this first episode. And until next week, I'll see you next week on on Spider Slayer's Comic Book Countdown. And as always, guys, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. And thank you for watching Comic Book Corner. Take care, everyone. I'll see you real soon. Bye.